Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm Melissa Webb, and after years in the classroom and years homeschooling and supporting those in home education, and even more years creating curriculum for families like yours, I have learned this. Homeschooling isn't about perfection. It is about purpose. And this podcast is here to encourage you, to guide you, and to remind you that what you're doing truly matters. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello everyone. Happy New Year. School year, that is. Are you finding yourself getting back in school mode yet? I know it can be tricky. For some people, it really doesn't start until after Labor Day, which is right around the corner. But I know for all of us planners, we've already gotten in the move and in the groove. And if that is you, fantastic. I want to talk about the upcoming school year. So as you know, I love to teach writing. It's just my wheelhouse. It's the thing that brings me such joy to make writing something that students have fun doing and are so engaged that for many of them, it suddenly becomes their favorite subject. I love that I get to be a part of that. A few weeks ago, I was invited to speak at an event, and the topic that I covered was the 7 biggest writing mistakes and how to avoid them. And I thought, you know what? I should record a podcast episode sharing these 7 writing mistakes to make sure that all of you listening are being sure not to make any of these mistakes, and or also make sure that you are fully planned and prepared for this upcoming school year. So let's jump in and talk about the writing mistakes that I have seen in my over 30 years of teaching experience. I want to start though by asking you a question. And this is really important because for us to be able to understand how our kids are feeling, sometimes we need to get in their shoes. So can you go back to when you were your child's age? And some of you have multiple children, so just pick one, pick that age, maybe the one who's kind of struggling with writing, and imagine being that age again. Can you recall some of the confusion that sat around that topic for you? Did you find yourself unsure of exactly what was expected of you? Because odds are those same feelings that you had, your kids are having them too. We want to just keep that in mind. It helps us to be empathetic and understanding. And again, when we can think, yes, I wish somebody would have told me this or showed me that, you suddenly can show up as the teacher, the home educator that you want to be for your kids. So the mistake that I wanted to talk about first is when I hear families say, oh, we're not ready to start writing. I need to wait until my child's older. But that would be mistake number 1, waiting until they're older. Because writing is actually part of the standards starting in kindergarten. Now, they're not writing full, complex, compound types of sentences. They may be drawing a picture and just listening to the first sound that they hear in the word sun. And then they're just transcribing an S. Or they drew a house, and so you talk about that sound. What other sounds do you hear? And so it's just recognizing that these pictures have words, and these words have spellings. And for some, that's right where they start. Now, the other thing that I always recommend at this early stage is that you're talking about writing terminology. For example, we know that there's informative writing. That's a form of expository writing. And informative writing has the job of being informative. So if you are picking up a science book and you're talking about the earth and the earth's crust, and you're learning some facts about the earth and the different layers of the earth, you would stop and say, is this a story? Do you think this is a narrative, like they're telling us a story? Or are they giving us information? Your kids would most likely say, oh, they're giving us information. And then you can say, this is called informative writing. And you'll find informative writing in science books and history books. Just getting used to the terminology at those younger ages, that's a great, wonderful place to start. So I want to encourage you to do that. Mistake number 2 is thinking that we must teach spelling or grammar before we teach writing. And that is something I've heard many parents say, we need to figure out spelling and grammar before we actually start putting sentences together. But these are two different things. Writing is about our thinking and organizing those thoughts, and that happens in one part of our brain. But in a separate part of our brain, we have learning our spelling words, learning parts of speech, doing the grammar, mechanics, capitals, periods at the end of sentences. You absolutely can do them hand in hand. They go together. So don't think that you have to be a master at one before starting the other. Mistake number 3, I see this a lot in our programs, and that is expecting independence from your child too soon. So to have the thought, well, we haven't really started essay writing yet because I know they're going to depend on me too much. I want to just say there is not a curriculum on this planet that should ever replace you. You're the home educator. Your child needs you to coach them. They shouldn't just start by being independent. They need your feedback. They need to have conversations with you. I really want you to embrace the reality that you are your child's coach. And so if it's for writing, you're their writing coach. Now, yes, eventually it does happen that our involvement decreases over time, but it doesn't disappear in the very beginning. And I like to give the analogy of a child wanting to learn how to ride a 2-wheel bike. Most families put on training wheels first. Have you done that? Put on training wheels on your child's bike? Were you cheating? Were you encouraging them to be a cheater by doing that? No. You're supposed to help them. The training wheels are supposed to help them. Even when you take the training wheels off, they may still need you to run alongside them for a little while until they feel steady, until they feel balanced. So it is not cheating to help your child master strong academic writing. Coach them. Do not wait for them to become independent. They'll become independent after they've been coached well. Mistake number 4, and this is a common one, is confusing more writing with better writing. So I will have families say, oh, we write all the time. Every day my kids have to write in their journals for 15 to 20 minutes every single day. That is a lot of writing every single day. Good for you. That's fantastic. But frequent assignments like that or super long assignments actually do not produce better writers. They need the guidance to say, this is a form of creative writing. This is a form of persuasive writing. This is a form of expository writing. Here we have narrative. If they're just writing in a journal, they could write all they want, but they're never going to learn strong academic essay composition structure. It's kind of like saying, you know what? My kids eat every day. Therefore, they should be a great cook. The two do not go together like that. To be a good cook, there are some very specific things that you're going to have to learn, to teach, and repeat for them to become effective skills that they then know how to do the job. And that's true with writing too. The 5th mistake that I discussed was focusing too much on the final copy. So writing is a process. And it's a lengthy process. It's why in our programs, we take 1 month to write one essay because there's so much that needs to be done along the way. And to sit down and do it all in one sitting would be far too much. But at the same time, it could be easy. You're in week 2, you are just creating a rough draft. It could be easy to neglect the celebration that should be happening at this moment. When you think of your child as a baby, and when your baby was starting to pull herself up and even start to show that she was going to crawl, did you sit back and say, well, when you're actually walking, we'll cheer you on? No, we were right there with our little baby saying, you've got it, you can do this. We need to be celebrating all the stages of writing as well. Your child reads an article, high five. Your child takes that article and writes down some notes, big compliments. This is fantastic. You did a really good job here. I like this fact that you found. You're always pointing out what your child is doing well in every step of the writing process, not just waiting until the whole thing is done and then celebrating at the end. I mean, do that too, but professional writers know that a good idea is the very beginning of a long writing process, and they celebrate that. So all of those milestones, give them a little extra love and attention this year. Be proud of your kids. The 6th mistake that I want to mention is this belief that good writers are born that way. I've heard this, and I've heard this not just for writing, but I've heard people say, well, of course, George isn't very good with math. I was never good with math, as if it's genetic. It's not. So avoid all you can the temptation you may have to say, you know what, sweetheart, I was never a good writer either, because they're not connected. It's not a genetic thing. Now, I will say some children can appear naturally gifted, and not just in writing, but other things. I've seen young children pick up a pencil and draw so well. It's just this natural gift they have. Or I've listened to children sing and I think, wow, that tone, it's so beautiful. So yes, talent is a thing, and talent can open doors. But even those people, artists, singers, and writers, need training to take them to the next level. If you are someone who thinks, my child just isn't a naturally good writer, I would challenge that. Instead of believing that, just I wonder what kind of training I could provide for my child to help him or her become a stronger writer. I can tell you, it's simple in that you need a stronger system, something that's very predictable. Maybe you need better instruction. Maybe it's just more practice. But writing is a skill. Skills can be learned, and confidence is going to grow through repeated practice. And that hopefully is encouraging. The final mistake that I pointed out was looking for that perfect curriculum. I've heard this many times. Our writing just isn't very strong because we still haven't found something that works. And the truth of the matter is, there are so many great writing curriculums in the world. I love ours. I think it's exceptional, but I don't think it's the only great writing program in the world. There are so many that work. It's about practicing what you have. Most programs will work when the child does. Some of my tips for you would be to look for instruction that's very clear and consistent, that's positive and encouraging, that's structured and standards aligned, and something that they can repeat. That's how you're going to get the independence over time. Because when children know what comes next, they begin writing without fear, but instead with confidence. I see it all the time in our Wow Writers Clubhouse, which I must mention is closing at the end of August. And so if you are looking for an online semester-long program, it is our most popular, but the doors do close because once we start, we're all on the same page and we get to work. So I'll link the sign-up form If it has expired by the time you hear this, it'll redirect you to the next semester's wait list. So you could always get on that if you miss your spot this time. Now, I want to go back to that first question that I asked you about you being your child's age. Did something come up for you? And of these 7 things that we just mentioned, do any of them ring truth for you? I will tell you that every confident writer that I work with, everyone began as a beginner. And that's true of all writers. When the goal is progress, not perfection, but steady progress, you're going to succeed. One sentence at a time. You absolutely can do this. So I'll wrap up for you, and we'll just go over those 7 one last time. See if any of them really stood out for you. And as I said, you can always check our show notes for what we are offering this fall. I would love to take care of any of these mistakes. Let's not wait until they're the perfect age. We start working with kids in 3rd grade. Kids as young as 8 years old are starting to write single paragraphs well structured. And by the end of the first semester, many of them are already at a higher elementary level of writing because they see the system works. Again, don't think that they have to be perfect spellers or excellent at grammar before they can learn how to structure an essay. It's a whole different skill, and they can be learning both side by side. Mistake number 3 is expecting them to be too independent too soon. What you want to do is guide them. So whatever program you use, whether it's with ours, we want you to walk alongside them. If it's another program that you find, stay engaged with them. Show curiosity. Ask them what they're writing. Get their thoughts on it as well. Mistake number 4 was remember not to confuse lots of writing with really good writing. Those are 2 different things, and you want to be focused on practicing the 3 core styles every semester. Your kiddos should be writing 1 persuasive opinion piece, 1 expository, informational, think research paper, and 1 strong narrative with dialogue and figurative language and a strong story plot. Mistake number 6, please don't believe that anybody is just born to be a good writer. Sure, some are naturally talented, but I truly believe that with good structure and a repeatable process, all kids can be super strong writers. And lastly, stop looking for the perfect curriculum. Pick one, commit to it, show up, and I guarantee you, you are going to see some great growth in your kids this semester. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And hey, if you are feeling stretched thin and you would love some support with teaching writing, I offer programs designed to make that part of homeschooling easier and more enjoyable for both you and your child. I also have free resources on my website, so please be sure to check those things out and subscribe to the podcast. You do not have to do this alone. Right on.